Welcome to the Rutgers Boardwalk.
Keep going!
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of Chop Weekly. Chris Carlin, joined by former Scarlet Knight and Rutgers Hall of Famer Eric LeGrand, as the Scarlet Knights look forward to their final home game of the season this coming Saturday when they take on the Penn State Nittany Lions. So glad that you could join us. And unfortunately, today we start things on a somber note with the tragic shooting at the University of Virginia last evening and the passing of three University of Virginia football players and two other students who were wounded. Lavelle Davis Jr., Devin Chandler, and Deshaun Perry were all killed in a senseless act of violence. Two others were wounded. One is in critical condition. Two other students at Virginia. And Eric, I think it's unimaginable to think about this terrible tragedy, and it's certainly nothing that any parent should ever have to think about when it comes to sending their child to college. But right now, it's one of those things that we find ourselves saying quite often, but it's just our continued prayers, and we are thinking of those in the University of Virginia community right now as they go through such a terrible time, and certainly the families of those three young men.
Absolutely. It gives you a pit in your stomach, Chris, when you read the news and you hear about it and you just think about what these parents are going through right now, and the team and everyone just in that community, when you see these senseless acts that happen, unfortunately, every day. And it's things like what we need to obviously continue to talk about, bring to the forefront, because it's important. But I wish we didn't have to talk about it, because it's just horrible news. And I just think about being in a locker room, and then you think of a former teammate doing that to another player. It just goes against all, codes of ethic, brotherhood, and everything. And just to have that senseless act happen to those players, I don't know, obviously, all the details that are going into it, but it's just a very unfortunate situation. You're thinking about those.
Well, right now, we're just thinking about that entire University of Virginia community as they continue to try to heal through this, and Tony Elliott and his football program trying to heal through this terrible tragedy. And we are thinking of them and keeping them in our hearts right now. Well, as far as Rutgers is concerned, the Scarlet Knights, as we said, return home this week for their final home game of the year. It is senior day at SHI Stadium. They take on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Rutgers coming off a tough road loss at Michigan State the other day, 27-21. We're going to hear from Coach Schiano in his weekly news conference in just a moment. But Eric, there were an awful lot of good things to take out of that game the other day for Rutgers, specifically on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, you look at Gavin Wimsatt growing up in front of our eyes. Obviously there's going to be ups and downs along his journey of developing into the quarterback that we believe he is going to be, but we got to see a lot of great stuff from him. And I'd love to go back to that play where he actually threw that touchdown to Aaron Young. First off, great play design and schemed up by Nunzio Campanelli. But if you look at the play and the delay on it, Gavin had to step back. He had to wait for the receiver to carry that safety over, because Aaron Young split between the two linebackers, was open right away. But if he would have threw it early, the safety would have came down and intercepted it. But he waited for his receiver to come across, take that safety, and then he threw a perfect touchdown pass to Aaron Young. That just goes to show you the development of him.
Well, listen, and for Gavin, there were a lot of positives to take. A lot of those numbers came later in the game when Rutgers was trying to come back, but the decision-making was just phenomenal. He finished 20 of 34 on the day for 236 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Eric, he didn't turn football over too. Like you pointed out on that touchdown to Aaron Young, that maturation process is clearly happening. And it's been one of those things where it's been gradual. You see the good things that are there and you see what he is capable of becoming. And the best news is he is clearly on his way to becoming that.
Absolutely. And you said you hit it right on the nail, Chris. He did not turn the ball over. And when you see they had a chance to win the game, I believe Coach Seattle's record is now 9-1 when they don't turn over the ball. They unfortunately did lose the game, but hey, they were in the game and they had a fighting chance all the way into the end because of not turning over that ball. And another guy that we got to shine our light on, Chris, is Kyle Monangai.
Yep. He was absolutely phenomenal the other day. A breakout game, 162 yards. And Eric, I asked Coach about Kyle Monangai leading into the game this past week because you look at the stats and he had not had that kind of a game this season. We saw the emergence of Sam Brown earlier in the year, but you kind of felt that with somebody that does so many things well, as Coach pointed out, just dependable in whatever job you ask him to do, to have that kind of game had to feel good.
Oh, it definitely felt good. He needed that, especially going up against that Michigan State defense where the game plan was to be able to run it on them and run it a lot. And Kyle Monangai, he was just carrying that load. And he had a 31-yard run, a run for 15, 17. There was so many actually plays that went over 10 yards. Unfortunately for Michigan State's offense as well, I believe they had 17. Rutgers might have had 16 plays over 10 yards. But Kyle Monangai carrying that load, and at one point on that touchdown drive, he carried the ball 5 times in a row. You could just tell he was exhausted, but he kept lowering his shoulders and running through defenders of Michigan State. And that's what you look forward to because we knew he's a smaller guy, but he's tough, hard-nosed, and he does not go down on the first hand. He opened it up, Chris, right away with a bang on that first play.
I was about to ask you about that, setting a tone.
He trucked the safety and took it for another, 20 yards down the field. I mean, that gets you all fired up right there, and it makes the lineman want to continue to block for you too and open up those gaps.
Yeah, I was going to ask you exactly about that, and you just answered the question, the tone that sets, but more than anything else, having that level of a productive day in the run game for Kyle had to be a huge boost for him. Defensively, Rutgers did not have their best game, but they were able to tighten it up quite a bit in the second half at times when they needed to bring that game a little bit closer.
Yeah, the defense definitely didn't have their best game. They allowed a lot of big plays during that game and not even huge plays that were being thrown down the field. It was just not making tackles right away and let big chunk plays happen after a little 5-yard route across the middle of the field goes for 20, 25 yards. Those are the things that they were trying to clean up. But obviously, you got to give credit to Michigan State, too, for game planning and seeing where they can attack that defense and the weaknesses. But like you said, they tightened up in the second half, and they were battling out there and trying to fight it all the way into the end. Unfortunately, it went Michigan State's way this time. But the defense, they had one really, really bad game this year. And, hey, it happens, unfortunately, sometimes.
Well, we are just having some technical difficulties with Coach's press conference, so we're trying to get that straightened out in just a moment, so bear with us on that. In the meantime, Eric, the thing that you look at here moving forward is you've got two more games here remaining in the season and 2 more opportunities. And most importantly, you win those 2 games, still have a chance at bowl eligibility. Now, it's not going to be easy, certainly with Penn State coming in this week, but it's going to be a raucous crowd for Rutgers to get an opportunity to try to knock off one of their closest schools in the Big Ten and a team that they want to be a rival of, certainly, and also one in Maryland that is right down the road. That's turned into a pretty good rivalry the last couple of years. So these are opportunities for Rutgers to finish the season strong and to still get to the postseason. The goal still sits in front of them.
Yeah, the goal still sits in front of them, and they have to go out there and play the best game that they have played this season to knock off the Nittany Lions if they went to this Saturday coming up, because Penn State, they are a good football team. They're physical. They want to run the ball. They have explosive players, especially in a young freshman running back. And the Scarlets are going to have their hands full. But, hey, the opportunity still presents itself, and you get that chance to line it up and mainly for those seniors too who have been through so much coaching, changing, adapting into a new culture, becoming leaders. You want to go out there and play for them, and you want to make sure that they go out on a high note and give them their best effort for the younger guys. And for the seniors, it's your last time strapping it up at SHI Stadium. So why not go out there and give it your effort and upset a team like Penn State? There's no better story to tell for years upon years after that.
Eric, it's funny. You look at where they are at this juncture of the year, and I don't know that people fully have an opportunity to grasp what goes through this for players as they get to this point. You're tired physically, you're tired mentally. You've still got exams to come in December. You've still got everything to work with in terms of all of your responsibilities. Take me inside what it's like for a player when you get to this juncture of the year and you have just a couple of games left in the regular season.
Yeah, you're banged up, Chris. You really are. But honestly, the motivation carries you through these moments because there's an opportunity still that presents itself to get to where you want to go. Is it going to be easy? No, but you still want to go out there and give it your best effort because there is that chance. You never know what can happen. But being realistic, too, you are exhausted. Everything is hurting. You're going to class. You're waking up early in the mornings, going to practice. It's a tough schedule, but that's why not everyone can do it. And the best ones, show up how they can play late into the season, how they continue to grow as a team, get better as a team, and develop for not only this year, but years to come. These are the moments that you remember for these opportunities that present themselves. So I know Coach Shiano and the staff will have those guys ready and fired up exactly for Saturday, for kickoff. But hey, this is the only time that you get right now in this moment, Chris. You got to go out there and make the best of it, even if you are feeling a little pain right now in your legs and arms and everywhere.
Well, as far as the game this Saturday, it is a 3:30 kick. It was announced early yesterday that it would be a 3:30 p.m. kick at SHI Stadium. And, of course, we need you out there early. The boardwalk will open up at 11 a.m. on Saturday, your last opportunity to check out the Rutgers Boardwalk this year. Talked to so many friends who have been at the boardwalk this year and have just absolutely loved it. So much fun for kids, for everybody, all the food trucks. You know that I'm going there right away. The Ferris wheel, all the games. I mean, Eric, it has got every last element of the classic New Jersey boardwalk to it, and just a last chance for everybody to kind of enjoy that this week.
Yeah, and as you're talking about it, we got our guy in the back, PJ, playing that little highlight clip, and I'm looking at some of those shakes that are out there, Chris, and the burgers. I'm looking, I have not had lunch yet, so my stomach just started growling as I'm looking at it. But yes, the boardwalk is definitely a great time. The fans are really enjoying it. It's just a whole college atmosphere. You get the Scarlet Walk at the end of it. After you go through the boardwalk, the stage, the cheerleaders, the band, everyone's just out there having a good time and creating that game day atmosphere that major college football is all about. And that boardwalk fits perfectly right here in New Jersey.
Again, it opens up at 11 a.m. This week, they're going to have an ice skating rink at the boardwalk as well. I mean,
you won't see me on that. You will not see me on that. I'll be there watching from the side. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, me neither, bud. Absolutely not. Nobody needs to see me slip and fall. That's for sure. But it's a lot of fun for those who do enjoy that kind of thing. But in the meantime, there's also Senior Day, and it's so important to really say thank you to those young men that have added so much to this program over the last several years and have been through a lot, quite frankly, over the last several years, and get a chance to see them enjoy their last home game. And it's got to be an emotional moment for sure. Eric, these guys, you came out of the tunnel after your injury a couple of years later and got a chance to do that. Just the emotions, everything that goes into that.
It's it's all I think about. I didn't get to play in my Senior Day game, but coming out that tunnel, Chris, as you mentioned, you got the fans yelling for your name, you got your family is there, your friends. That moment is special, and it's something that you remember for the rest of your life. You get to shake coach's hand after you run through the band and all the cheerleaders are there cheering for you, and then you have to strap up and play a game. And I know coaches always try to say, keep your emotions in, and it's hard. It is hard to focusing on having to go play a game, because when you're running out the tunnel, all those memories start to hit your head. Running in the stadium when it's 120 degrees on that turf, running up and down the stadium stairs, and everything, that the hard work and the effort that you put into it, to see when you came in there as a young boy and now you're leaving as a man. So a lot of emotions go through your mind through that.
And one thing that Coach always talks about, Eric, the importance of taking those emotions, but making sure that they don't overcome you, because the last thing you want is to have one of those subpar games and you get caught up in the moment, so to speak, for your final home game.
And I think that's how, the coaches really do a great job with the Coach Yano and his staff, because obviously all week long those emotions are going through your head and you're thinking about it. But the coaches do a great job by keeping that routine of being able to prepare for a game and making sure you're focusing on your keys and your reads. And they're continuing to reiterate that throughout the day, throughout the week, so it doesn't really let you get into that moment, because you have to stop out of it. Yes, you can enjoy your 15, 20 seconds running out the tunnel, but then you got to snap out of it. And when the game is over and the zeros are on the clock, then you let the emotion come out.
Well, we apologize. We've been having some technical issues with Coach Schiano's press conference. We hope to bring you some of it, but we're not sure, quite frankly, if we're going to be able to. Eric and I were talking just a few minutes ago about the opportunity that lies ahead with Penn State coming in this week. We'll share another thought or two on that in just a moment. But, Eric, we'd be remiss if we did not congratulate the men's soccer program, Jim McElderry and company, their first Big Ten championship. They won yesterday over Indiana, an absolutely phenomenal accomplishment. And as we speak right now, we're waiting to find out who they will play in the NCAA tournament, the selection show. It's midday here on Monday. We are, as we speak, that selection show is going on right now. But what an amazing accomplishment. First Big Ten championship for Rutgers since they've joined the conference, and their first NCAA berth since 2015.
Yeah, let me tell you about my soccer knowledge now a little bit, Chris. That's called an Olympico right there. Not gonna lie, I did not know that until
Neither did I until today.
I thought it was called just a corner and you crossed it in, but it's called an Olympico. And what a better way to do it at home when Rutgers is hosting the Big Ten tournament and you get to play in front of your crowd and win your first ever Big Ten tournament. I mean, that's incredible for those players and the development of that program to see, where they were to where they are now. Like, that was awesome. I mean, obviously watching a lot of NFL on Sunday, but my eyes were all on that too, Chris, because I was like, this is amazing. This is history being made, and congratulations to the Rutgers men's soccer team in that program. It's amazing to see just what the teams have done. The Rutgers field hockey team, the women's soccer team, the men's soccer team, the men's basketball team. These Olympic sports are really, really showing out for Rutgers University.
Yeah, they're doing a phenomenal job. We have to credit the women's soccer team, too. They had a disappointing loss in the first round of the NCAAs to Brown, but that doesn't take away from the fact that, Eric, this is a team that last year made the College Cup and has made the NCAA tournament 11 consecutive years. Wow.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. I'm not going to lie. They are so good, and they deserve all the credit in the world for what they do. Year in and year out, continue to be ranked, continue to be the forefront and leading, in the Big Ten and showing what Rutgers is all about. And now to add the other sports are, starting to follow along. Obviously, men's and women's lacrosse, men's basketball, Rutgers football and women's basketball will get there. We're continuing to fight. They will get there. It's going to happen. But as these other programs are on their way there a little bit faster, give them all their flowers and give them their credit because they deserve it.
Eric, as we look at the matchup this coming weekend with Penn State, and I'm just finding out now, in fact, that Rutgers men's soccer will play at Penn in the first round of the NCAA tournament. We still we're working on more information, but that was just announced a moment ago that Rutgers will play at the University of Pennsylvania in the first round of the tournament. So, like I said, we'll fill you in more on that in a second, but looking forward to Penn State this week. What we have seen of late, getting the run game going, all those kinds of things for Rutgers. Talk to me about what you're going to look at this week as you're evaluating their opportunity to get a win over Penn State.
I'm going to look right at that running game in the beginning and earlier that game, because we know playing Minnesota and Michigan, those run defenses were very stout. Michigan State has a lot of injuries, their suspensions, and they knew that they could take advantage of that run game, and that's exactly what they did for running for over 200 plus yards in the game. Now, can you channel that into going up against a better defense that you're going to face in Penn State and continue that success? Is that offensive line going to be able to get those knockbacks, create those little holes, and let Kyle Monangai, Aaron Young, and Al-Shadi Salam be able to get back there and make plays? So that's what I'm going to be looking at earlier. But obviously, the focus will always go back to the quarterback at Gavin Wimsatt, playing a better defense. Will he be able to have that same success and not turn the ball over and give the Scarlet Knights an opportunity at the end of the game to win?
Well, and more than anything else, it's the opportunity for the fans to see Rutgers get a chance to take on Penn State. Because, listen, it's a regional school. It's someone in the Big Ten that is right here with you just a few hours away. And there's always a recruiting battleground between these two schools, always trying to get the guys on both sides to end up going to their university. And instead, it's always going to mean something for a lot of these players because they were recruited by both these schools.
Absolutely. It's always recruiting implications being in that local area. You grow up with a lot of these kids. You go on a lot of different visits with the players from the opposing team at Penn State. So, yeah, there's a lot of juices behind the scenes, and a lot of bulletin board material that takes place during these types of games. And you want to be able to go out there and give yourself a chance to win, because there's nothing like having bragging rights going in for the entire year, especially the fan base. We know how well we enjoy our bragging rights when we get the opportunity, Chris. So, yes, it's all plays into this game coming up at 3:30. And like I say, no better way to send off the seniors with a upset win over Penn State.
Well, like we said, the boardwalk for this Saturday will open up at 11 a.m. It is a 3:30 kick. But that senior day ceremony for the fans to get a chance to say thank you, that's going to be 20 minutes before kickoff. So you want to make sure that you are in the stadium early enough. Listen, sleeping in, not an excuse for a 3:30 game. I can sleep in the test room. I will be there ready to go. But the point is, you need to have as many people there, students, fans, everybody as possible, to say thank you and to give Rutgers one final strong home field advantage this week.
Yeah, to give them that home field advantage, because there's nothing like when that stadium is rocking. We got to see it in the first half of Michigan, Chris. We were talking about it at halftime. Do you remember how electric it felt going into halftime and just getting that first half? And yes, there was plenty of Michigan fans there, but Rutgers fans showed out, and it was amazing to see just that energy get in the stadium and what we thought may happen that night. But if we can get that same type of energy for Penn State, great things.
Yeah, we're excited for it too. We're looking forward to seeing you Saturday. Again, we apologize. We're unable to bring you Coach Schiano's news conference, but we had some technical issues today. But we appreciate you joining us on this edition of Chop Weekly. Nonetheless, again, it's Rutgers and Penn State. By the way, the final regular season game, Thanksgiving weekend at Maryland, has been announced as a noon kickoff down in College Park. That was announced just a little while ago this morning as well. So, once again, we will see you on Saturday. It is Rutgers and Penn State. Looking forward to it, bud. We'll talk to you then.
Sounds good, Chris. Looking forward to it as well.
For Eric, Chris Carlin, thanks again for joining us on this edition of Chop Weekly. We'll see you Saturday, 3:30 p.m., Rutgers and Penn State at SHI Stadium.